What does Dominion need to prove to win a defamation case against Fox?
Well, Dominion needs to prove that a false statement was made about it, and it was made with a certain mindset. And really, the filings that we've been talking about on air here really go to that actual malice mindset. So what Dominion is proposing it will prove is that Fox News published false statements about it, and published those statements knowing that they were false, or at least recklessly disregarding the falsity of them.
Now, here's George, already where I feel like they get into trouble, the Dominion people. And that's not to say I don't believe in the lawsuit, whatever, but this is where they get into trouble. They say that they have 20 false statements on 6 different shows. 20 false statements on 6 different shows. The false statements are, by people like Sidney Powell, Dominion, hacked, switched votes, stuff like that on 6 different shows. But when, in their effort to prove actual malice and knowledge of falsity, they, for the most part, cite anchors who have nothing to do with those 6 shows. They cite Tucker saying this is all baloney. I don't believe a word of this. He wasn't one of the ones who repeated it. They don't cite Maria Bartiromo saying I don't believe it, or Lou Dobbs saying I don't believe it, or Janine Pirro saying I don't believe it. So is that a problem for Dominion?
It's a problem, but not insurmountable, I would say. And that's because this was not like the ordinary story that's worked upon by a producer, an editor, and the reporter. And that's basically the little hub who put the story on the air. I mean, this was a story that went on for 2 months and was, quite visible to the highest people in the company, including Rupert Murdough, who said himself that he could have done something about this. So it seems to me, as Jeremy said correctly, anyone who's responsible, who had serious doubts about the truth of what they were putting on the air, I think that person's mind view is something that could be used to show actual malice. And
so you agree? You agree as
but it might well be.
So just to clarify, you agree as the stand-in lawyer for the Fox side on this that it would be enough to show that, let's say, Maria's executive producer knew that this was baloney and had said it, or somebody with direct editorial control linked to her.
Right, linked to putting that snippet on by putting Sidney Powell on. Yes. If it's Tucker Carlson, who's another host who has nothing in that line of authority on Maria's program, then he would be excludable, it seems to me. But it was a story where everyone in the company was involved after all. So the top people in the newsroom, I think, are responsible.
Now, how do you get to, Andrew, how does Dominion get around the fact that this is what reporters do? The president of the United States was saying these things. It was crazy time. And all the papers in the world were reporting on these claims. And then Sidney Powell came out of nowhere and made these extraordinary claims, and Giuliani eventually echoed them. So how does Dominion get past the fact that Fox as a news organization has an obligation to tell the audience what's being said?
Well, certainly there will be an issue for them. So part of their defense is that nobody would take some of these as part of Fox's defense is that some folks wouldn't take these as statements of fact and that they should be viewed more as statements of opinion. I think that'll be a serious issue in the case. And I think, especially along the lines of in a First Amendment defense to a defamation case, a lot of times what you're trying to find is a false and defamatory statement, as I mentioned earlier. So some of the defense that Fox will put in are things like, Bartiromo saying that, do you have proof of that? If you were asking somebody for their proof, to me, that indicates that it's not a statement of fact, or you're not presenting it as a statement of verifiable fact. So I think really a lot of the attention on the recent filings are really about evidence of actual malice and what folks in the Fox newsroom knew. But I do think that there are very good reasons for us to maintain strong First Amendment protections for the remaining elements of a defamation claim, specifically whether they were statements of fact or statements of opinion.
What about that, George? Because you understand as a journalist, you have an obligation, especially when the other side's not there. You're going to platform Sidney Powell. You have a high obligation to grill her, going to making these incendiary claims. Is it enough, do you think, for Fox to have had Maria say, can you prove it? What's your proof?
I think that's really the nub of this case, because this is one place where good journalism and good law diverge. For the most part, they really go parallel with each other, which is good, right? But in this area where it's repeating crazy statements by public officials, the law and good journalism totally diverge. I mean, I reviewed thousands of articles at the Times, and the most troublesome were the kind of article which would say that Governor Cuomo said that Mayor Koch was accepting bribes. And the reporter said, this is BS, I don't believe it. But yet they wanted to publish it because it was newsworthy that the governor was saying something as crazy as that, as aggressive about the mayor, right? So what do you do? Because I would have to say legally, you're in trouble. We're repeating something that's libelous and you guys don't believe it. That's actual malice. On the other hand, shouldn't our viewers know that Cuomo is making such an irresponsible statement? I'm using those two names hypothetically, of course, but that really is a problem. And that's what this case is about. As it happens, and this is the weird part, which I don't understand, there's a defense that mirrors this issue exactly. And yet that defense hasn't been very much used or discussed in the context of this case. And that's called neutral reportage, which was a defense that was founded simply for this exact dilemma that I'm talking about, which says
But
that,
George,
yes,
I think it's because there isn't one in New York State. New York State doesn't recognize that.
yeah,
That's
but we're
the
in
problem,
Delaware. I
because
mean, the Dominion
it's in a Delaware court. No, but it's in a Delaware court, but it's being decided with New York law. Both parties have
But
agreed
that
to that.
doesn't
That's the
mean
problem
that
for
the
Fox.
judge-
They could use that privilege.
that doesn't mean that a judge in a very visible case couldn't recognize the privilege, as many judges have done around the country. It's still a minority view, but it's growing, and courts do occasionally recognize it, even though prior courts in that jurisdiction hadn't. And this seems like the perfect case for it. So I'm surprised. I mean, yes, you're right that technically New York law doesn't recognize it, although the federal courts in New York do recognize it. I understand that, but it's such a perfect case to bring that issue out, because this is a privilege that should exist. Because how else do you answer the dilemma that I just put as to Cuomo's statement about Koch? Is the answer you've got to hide that from public view?
It's the impossible position for. Can you imagine if Fox didn't cover any of this? Like, didn't cover what Trump's. But there was a way, and I will say,
Megyn,
I understand they were in a tough spot, but like we were in a tough spot too, in a way, because we didn't know whether Sidney Powell was telling the truth or not. I certainly didn't see her wackadoodle email. At first, I went to it saying, this is a respected trial attorney, an appellate attorney. I'm going to listen to what she's saying and react appropriately, accordingly. And it took not that long, frankly, but you had to keep an open mind to see whether it was true. And then very soon thereafter, it was like, there's no proof. I don't need to know whether it's true. There's zero proof. She's put nothing up. And by the way, Fox got there too. Tucker is the one who fairly early on went out and just absolutely killed her. We actually have a soundbite of that for people who want to be refreshed. Here it is. Watch.
Powell has been all over conservative media with the following story. This election was stolen by a collection of international leftists who manipulated vote tabulating software in order to flip millions of votes from Donald Trump to Joe Biden. On Sunday night, we texted her after watching one of her segments. So we invited Sidney Powell on the show. We would have given her the whole hour. We would have given her the entire week, actually, and listened quietly the whole time at rapt attention. But she never sent us any evidence, despite a lot of requests, polite requests, not a page. When we kept pressing, she got angry and told us to stop contacting her. When we checked with others around the Trump campaign, people in positions of authority, they told us Powell has never given them any evidence either, nor did she provide any today at the press conference. But she never demonstrated that a single actual vote was moved illegitimately by software from one candidate to another. Not one. Maybe Sidney Powell will come forward soon with details on exactly how this happened and precisely who did it. Maybe she will. We are certainly hopeful that she will.
I mean, Andrew, to me, that's compelling that, yes, they can mention Tucker as much as they want, and his text, behind the scenes, like, oh my God, this woman's a loon. What he said on the air matched up with, she's a loon. I kept an open mind. I tried to report the story. She's a lunatic. Bye.
And I think for Dominion's part on this, what they would argue is that a fair report or a neutral report privilege wouldn't apply in this case because it requires the folks doing the reporting to do so dispassionately and free from other bias. So I think that's their legal argument here, but I think you're exactly right about the points that have been aired and the sort of the juxtaposition of those points with other things that other folks were saying on the air.
Spring is nearly here. The days are getting longer. The weather's going to get warmer. And we know what that means. It's time to get outside and enjoy your backyard, or will be soon. What better way to do that than with the Michael Phelps Swim Spa by Master Spas? The Michael Phelps Signature Swim Spa helps you create your perfect backyard this season and for many seasons to come. Designed to be used year-round, you can swim, exercise, and relax in the convenience and privacy of your backyard. It's like having your own private oasis at home. Plus, delivery and installation take less than a day once your space is ready. How about that? The water current creates resistance so you can swim in place. You get your exercise right there. And because it's heated, you can choose your perfect water temperature. Enjoy pure relaxation in the massage therapy seats of the swim spa when you're done. You get your exercise and your relaxation all in one. Michael Phelps Swim Spas are 100% made in the USA by Master Spas, the world's largest swim spa manufacturer. You will love your Michael Phelps Swim Spa by Master Spas. Go to masterspas.com/MK for a special offer. Save $1,000 on a Michael Phelps Swim Spa or $500 on a Master Spas hot tub. Again, go to masterspas.com/MK. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.